New videos every day.
Life, wisdom. I'm Psychetruth correspondent Corrina Rachel, and today I'm chatting with Spruce Dickerson. Thank you so much for joining me.
You're welcome.
Spruce is a motivational speaker, and she is also an advocate for domestic violence awareness. So today, let's talk about the signs of an abuser and how we might, as we're going through our lives, be able to identify someone and avoid entering a potentially violent relationship.
Yes, that's very important to notice and know the signs before engaging and going out on that first date. But, you know, a lot of times the signs just don't manifest until
you're
get
already
to know.
In the relationship.
Exactly, yes, until you're, already beyond that first date. But there are definitely signs that you can, and red flags that will cause you to think. And, one point I want to bring out is that women, we have what we call that instinct and that woman's intuition. And I have always said that if we women would listen to our intuition more,
yes.
We would save ourselves a lot of heartache and a lot of trouble, but we don't listen to it. We just ignore that little gut feeling, and we just go on and just do what we want to do. And then we look back and it's like,
oh man, I should have known. I should have known.
It's like, I didn't know.
How many times have we said, I should have known. I can't believe I didn't know.
Right.
So you're right. Often we don't listen to our intuition. We don't listen to that little nagging feeling.
Yes.
And, I've definitely, have been in relationships where in the end, you kind of say, man, I should have known that it probably wasn't going to end up that great,
See, exactly.
So that's an important thing to realize, we do need to listen to our intuition.
Yes, yes. And save ourselves from these signs of an abuser and save ourselves from an abuser. But what I have here is the power and control wheel that have the signs of an abuser. And if you'll notice, right in the middle of the wheel is the cog, which is the power and control. And that is what runs the whole ship, so to speak. The power and control, that's what domestic violence, domestic abuse is all about for a man or for a woman, is to have that control over their partner. And it starts in childhood, when a child is either abused or they witness abuse or there is some major trauma in that child's life that causes them not to develop a healthy emotional being, so they can't process healthily. They don't have the right tools and mechanisms to process. But so becoming an abuser in adult life is learned from their childhood. They've seen it, they've experienced it. So as an adult, they don't want to lose power. They don't want to lose control of themselves to anyone. And they're going to be bound and determined that's not going to happen, that they're going to be the controller.
So let's talk more about the wheel, and can you just kind of, walk us through what some of these different signs of an abuser are?
Well, Corrina, this is our power and control wheel, and in the middle is the cog, which is the power and control, and then the spokes coming off of the power and control cog are the different aspects of the abuser. So we have using intimidation, using emotional abuse, using isolation, minimizing, denying, and blaming, using children, using male privilege, and using economy abuse. So we have, many different aspects to an abuser.
So I guess let's just talk in detail. Can we go into detail? I guess the first one, using intimidation. What would be some of the signs, or how would you identify that? Can you describe?
Well, using intimidation is, it can be passive aggressive. Mm-hmm. That the batterer might display weapons, leave his guns laying out on the living room table, or making her afraid of him by his actions, mm-hmm. or glaring at her with the looks that he gives her, mm-hmm. His gestures. And that's not just indoors. He can do that publicly, the intimidation factor, because he's not going to physically abuse her in church, no, but he can sure intimidate her by looking at her.
Okay, and then so the next one is emotional abuse. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
So the emotional abuse, the batterer belittles his partner or her partner, makes fun of her, tells her she's no good, tells her that nobody else wants her, or that she's fat, or that she's ugly, or just whatever that he can get into her psyche and just tear her down.
Okay, emotional abuse. And so now, using isolation, how would you describe that, or how would you be able to?
Isolation, well, that comes slowly. Because the abuser is pretty methodical in his control and in the power that he exerts. So the isolation is where he begins to cut the woman off from the outside world. He keeps her a prisoner inside the house, keeps her a prisoner within their relationship. He will use jealousy to justify it also. Cuts her off from her friends, from family, where she makes excuses of why she can't go to the family reunion, or she can't go to the girlfriend's birthday party, or what have you, or that she just can't go hang out. So he does a slow drip of isolating her, of cutting her off. Yeah. Yes. So.
Yeah, and I will say, I've definitely, witnessed my friends in relationships, or have even been in some myself, where you do have this kind of phenomenon of the guy kind of, discourages you from being with your friends, or doesn't want you to be with your friends, or doesn't want you to, be as close with your family or whatever. And, and it's a really good point that in the kind of a process of doing that, of isolating the woman, not only are you making it, harder for her to reach out to people, right. Most likely that she has trustable people. Right. So definitely that would, is an important one to, to recognize and notice. Yes. And in hindsight, relationships I've been in where it's like, man, why didn't they want me, around my friends? Why would they, why would someone discourage you from something like that?
Exactly. Well, and just using that intimidation factor, of just intimidating the woman and just starting to get into her mind and controlling and brainwashing her mind, and all about the love. Well, if you loved me, you would want to be with me. If you loved me, then it would just be us two against the world. Right. So it's getting in there and just messing with her mind and everything that she knows to be right. But she thinks, well, if I love this man, then why wouldn't I want to be with him all the time?
Right.
If he wants to be with me, well, then I should want to be with him, right? So, it's just that ever so slight of turning the truths around.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so let's keep on moving through this wheel. So minimizing, denying, and blaming. you talk a little bit more about that?
This is starting and to break down the woman's worth when he accuses the woman, because blaming, denying, minimizing, accusing the woman that it's her fault that he erupted so violently. It's her fault that he got angry. And even denying that the abuse happens. Making her think it's her fault. Making her playing mind games with her. And minimizing it. Oh, that's nothing. What are you whining about? It's just a little bruise. It's nothing. I get bruised like that playing football with the boys, with the guys.
So, yeah, that's an interesting point. And you're right. Oftentimes, it does seem like, the man or the abuser, man or woman, blaming the person, you're responsible for me being upset, or, your actions, are responsible for me, getting so upset or being so angry about this or whatever.
Yeah.
That's definitely an
Yes.
important sign to recognize.
Maybe she cooked the steak just a little too well done. Mm-hmm. And that is cause for him just to pummel her, just to beat the snot out of her. He doesn't, and really he doesn't need an excuse. That's just because that's who he is. But it's just a game for him, but he just cannot accept responsibility. So, he finds anything to blame her for.
So this next point, using the children. Can you describe that a little bit more?
So the abuser will use the children against the woman and make her feel guilty over something that happened to the child. Well, if you would have been there, the child would, he wouldn't have gotten hurt. Mm-hmm. If you would have cooked her breakfast right, she wouldn't be sick today. Mm-hmm. So using the children.
And also still with that blaming.
Yes.
Coming back again.
Yes, exactly. See, it just all ties in.
Male privilege. So that's just kind of the male taking that role of, it's almost my right to do what I want to do. Is that what that kind of is entailing?
Yes. That traditional, I think since the world began, male privilege. Mm-hmm. And a lot of cultures adhere to that. Mm-hmm. That is their culture, that it is their privilege to beat their wife or their partner. Mm-hmm. It's their right because they're a man. And that's all the reason that they need. Mm-hmm. And that's male privilege. Just because I'm a man, I've earned it. Mm. I deserve it.
Mm. Yeah, or because I provide for you, or something like this.
Right. Right. The king of the castle, and I am the provider, and I take care of you. So, so you have to do what I say. But, and it is. That's been with us for many, 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 many thousands of years.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's just keep moving along. Using economy abuse.
Yes. As we had talked about escaping and making preparations, well, when a woman doesn't have money, because you need money to make a phone call, economy abuse is very serious. That strips any independence away from a woman. That the abuser will prevent her from getting a job or make her quit a job that she has so she can be solely dependent on him. Mm-hmm. He'll give her an allowance, or give her just so much money that she has to run the household on just a pittance of money. Mm-hmm. And then when things aren't done right within that budget or within that allowance that he gives her, He blames her. That's an excuse to beat her. Mm-hmm. Or maybe he doesn't give her any money at all, and she's without a penny.
Mm-hmm. She's really, truly dependent.
Exactly. To just everything that she needs and that she wants, she has to go to him and ask. Mm-hmm. And that's what he wants. She has to ask him for money. Mm-hmm. So he keeps a hold of her and keeps his talons in her mm-hmm. by stripping her of any independence through financial means. Yeah.
Wow. That is, and then back to the power and control again, so that she's more dependent on him, and that it definitely, they're definitely all very, very much related.
Yes.
So using coercion and threats is this last sign. Can you talk more about that?
He might threaten to commit suicide. And what would that do to you as a woman if the man that you love, the man that you have children with, mm-hmm. is going to break up the family by committing suicide? The man that you depend upon, mm-hmm. maybe you don't have any money because he doesn't give you any money. Mm-hmm. And so what are you going to do? You're lost. So threatens with committing suicide, threatens to take the children away. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. As a mother, that would just rip your heart out. Mm-hmm. So what does that do? She remains in servitude to her abuser mm-hmm. because she doesn't want to lose her children. Mm-hmm. Or maybe she's in this country illegally. Look at all the population that is in this country illegally. That's not a citizen. Mm-hmm. Wow. That's undetected people. Right. Where can they go? Because then they take the risk of being deported back to a place that they left mm-hmm. to try to get freedom. Mm-hmm. And they end up in a relationship that's a prison, that's mm-hmm. just the same as they left. So he threatens her with deportation, or turning her into welfare. Mm-hmm. There's a myriad of things. Mm-hmm. Making her do illegal things mm-hmm. That she doesn't want to do. I read something a while back where an abuser who did get help, and I don't know, can you say he's in a reformed? And you can, because when you get help, you can change your ways and not be abusive anymore. But the thing that he said that stood out to me, that he saw abusing his wife as a game. It was a little toy, a new little toy that he had to play with.
Oh my goodness.
So by manipulating her mind, manipulating her, and just having her as his servant, mm-hmm. it was a toy. It was a game. Mm-hmm. And that was somebody that he professed to love and that he professed to care for. No.
Oh my. Well, Spruce, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing this with me.
You're welcome.
Thank you for watching. I hope that you learned something from this video or found it useful. I hope that you will click that like button below and leave us any comments or questions. Please be sure to subscribe to Psychetruth so you can see our future videos. Thank you so much for watching.